So yeah, as you can probably tell, no, I'm not Zoe Wilson. She signed up for Comsverse, volunteered her time, then decided to leave a job, booked a holiday, and then found out her cat sitter was not available, so I had to move the holiday. So Zoe's not here because her cats are more important than all of you. Just saying. So, and yes, that is recorded.
Can I just say she is watching us on Twitter, though, so, you know, feel free to tag her in anything you post.
I'd say Kevin says. So because of this, if you like this session, thank you, it's the way I've presented it. If you don't like it, they're all Zoe's slides, as you'll see in a minute, so go through from there. So my name is Kevin Madon. I'm the Head of Practice for Modern Workplace at CPS. You're welcome to follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn. If you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, I'm the co-host of Grey Hat Beer Princess, talk about modern workplace. Every couple of weeks we get guests on. Used to do news, we're gradually moving away to just the guests and chatting about topics. So we had Aaron Rendell and our latest one talking about the Power Platform Centre of Excellence. We cover all sorts of things on there. I'm also a Viva Explorer, as well as Sarah here as well. And our aim is to get the what's, the why and the how of Microsoft Viva. So if you've got any questions about that, we're now at vivaexplorers.com. You can see some details there. And we've got a YouTube channel with a few, trying to get short videos on the different topics there. So keep an eye out of that. Yeah, I'm an MVP. You know that because MVPs always tell you they're MVPs. So that comes through from there as well. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about why it matters, how you present and the kind of getting the right way across. What is the importance of that? Then we're going to go through the basics of Teams meetings and some of those settings which you've probably had a look at and then started a meeting and forgotten to change any of that. So what some of those things can do. Going to talk a little bit about PowerPoint Live and how you can kind of integrate yourself in with those to give a bit more about it, and some of those dynamic presenter views that you can bring through with that, and then cover a few other tips and tricks. But it's always important, as Simon Sinek said, is to start with why. And I hate keep talking about pandemic, but it is still front of mind, and it's made such a change even without the pandemic. I certainly used to work from home, would have most of my meetings via Teams. Post-pandemic, I've been to 2 client visits. So that kind of online life, even if you're kind of connected between multiple offices, it's going to be virtual. Digital is the new normal for things. So you're going to be presenting virtually. So standing up and being able to wave your hands like I am here is going to be part of your presentations and part of your meetings, but there's going to be such a virtual element to it. So they're going to be here to stay. And it is easy to do. So the tech is getting better and better and simpler and simpler. Yeah, we all know it goes wrong at times, but generally it's easy to plug it in, doing for it. So it's easy to do the right thing. It's easy to look professional, to come across nicely, just with a little bit of thinking about it, thinking about where you position your lighting and stuff like that to make yourself look good, thinking about your microphone position. Do you use a headphone? For me, I've got a little kind of podcast type microphone there, and then I use in-ear headphones because I feel connected to part of the meetings, and then I really feel, understand and can hear people because it feels more like being in the room. I find a little tinny speaker on there just doesn't connect you in the same way, and that makes you more engaged with the people there and makes it more engaging. The other one, and Sarah and I were recently at the Scottish Summit, accessibility is important, and it's important to everyone. It's not just something that so-and-so's got a disability, we've got to think about things like that. That is not what matters. Yes, absolutely matters to open up to everyone, but it will affect all of us. I'm sure some of you, I'm very excited. My wife has given the go-ahead for my son and I to go to Glastonbury next year. Lots of loudspeakers, there's going to be lots of music going on, and I know when I get back from that, my ears are going to be ringing and it's not going to be quite as good and my hearing's not going to be as great. It happens to all of us. There's things that happen that mean you need to go through there. By doing Teams with virtual meetings, you can go ahead and have those transcripts. You can have live transcriptions and have it there. The Scottish Summit, they had sign language interpreters for a lot of the sessions. They had Connell, I've suddenly forgotten his surname something on there, he's deaf, he can't really speak much, he does lip reading, and he's worked in IT for 20 years. And the thing that really resonated, for the first 3 years of his career, they put him in the data center because he couldn't hear the noise. So he was sat on his own, completely separated from everyone else. But with Teams, it's transformed what he's been able to do, and that is the key for all of us. Conal McGinley, that's one, thank you. Absolutely fascinating guy, really. If you get a chance, do check out the South Coast Summit keynote. It is all online on there.
Scottish.
Do check out the South Coast one, but the Scottish Summit is one I was talking to there. Keep making that mistake. And then the final one is that if you have those meetings where people plod on and talk time and time again, it's bloody knackering. It's really tiring. You drift off to other things. You don't concentrate. So getting those meetings that are focused gives you a way to stay focused yourself and keeps you engaged with those meetings. And when it comes to that, we can talk about the technology, we can talk about all the nice cameras and kit that goes in there, but there's a basics to meeting. Even if you're not doing this virtually, those basics are key. The meeting must have a purpose. There's a reason. We were talking about Viva earlier, and one of the Viva insights is talking about the number of recurring meetings that people go to, because it's more likely it's recurring. It's let's do the same thing again, again, again. And you're kind of 6 months in, you're going, why are we still having this meeting? What is the purpose? Make sure you're very clear what the purpose is, what you're looking for from the outcome from it, and have that agenda so people can decide beforehand what is the relevance to them. They know what they need to be there for and why they're there. It gives them that ability to kind of prepare beforehand. And you want to make sure that the people you're inviting, I don't know how well the pointy is going to work. Oh, look, there we go. Making sure your invitees, that you've got the right people. You want to make it diverse. You don't want the same people again and again, because again, it gets repetitive. You want to get the right people in there for it, but you make sure you know why they're there, and you're sharing through that agenda what you expect from them. And any pre-reading, and Teams makes it even easier to do this, and even with some of the Outlook AI kind of auto-suggest documents that should be relevant to you, you can get those things pre-reading to make sure they've read that. Now, some of you probably work in big enterprise and go, yeah, no one reads out. I'm in back-to-back meetings. I've never got the time for it. But if you educate people in the right way to do things, there's more chance of that happening as well. So preparing your meeting to work out well gives you a lot more chance for that success. When it comes to the actual meeting itself, you've got various options here. So you've got that on the top left there. Let's see if we can get this mouse. So we go on the top left there, you've got the main one. And that's talking about how you change that display. I'm sure by default you've used that gallery as the main view. You've got the kind of four faces on there, and as more appear, they kind of goes to the top as you share and do different ones. But you've also got that large gallery. So if you have large meetings, and I have to admit, I had to look this up to make sure I had the right setting now, you get up to 49 people. But not just that, it actually scrolls, so you can click through and see everyone. So if a whole company meeting, everyone turns on their video, you can go through all those different things and see everyone involved there, so you can feel engaged as part of that as well. I'm also a massive fan of the together mode, because, yeah, the kind of default ones are a bit cheesy. You've got the kind of lecture theatre, and everyone's used those. But it's really easy to go in. I think it's dev.teams.microsoft.com. You can go in and create your own together mode. If you go on my GitHub, actually, github.com/KevMcDonk, I'll put it on Twitter later. I've created a few, because the second I saw you could do the custom ones, I was like, yes, I can finally do it. I can put the Muppets and have 50 people appearing as the Muppets as the intro. That is perfect for so many of these big meetings I have to go through. And there's another one I've got there of the Bohemian Rhapsody. You can have those four people as the four faces in there. So you can have a lot of fun. But we actually, at CPS, we have our own one. So we have our offices in there, so it looks like you're sitting around a meeting room within the office. So if you're presenting to clients, you're keeping that corporate structure. So you can have the fun, or something a bit more, not boring, a lot more professional instead. You can balance those two different things off within there. So the together mode is really useful from that as well. And you can change from that. You can, as an individual, can choose which one you go through. I think now, and I'm going to look to Sarah, it might be putting face, you can actually push that to others as well. That's something that's just been announced as well, that comes through from that. So you can control how people see those different things from it. just one thing about there's something that's coming soon, and they talked about it yesterday, so I know I can talk about it. You can actually pop out that window, because one of the feedback that came through is obviously if you've got multiple monitors, you're stuck with that one screen, and you've got like the presentation, but you want to look at people as well. You will very soon, I think it might even be on the preview client, you can pop out that presentation window. So if you're looking like this, where you'd see the presentation part of that, you can have that on one screen and then have people's faces on the other. So you feel a lot more engaged. I know some people don't like turning on cameras. I'll come to that a bit more in a minute.
Sorry to interrupt. I have got a question. Perhaps we're going to come to it, but you did mention the use of sign language. We have quite a large numbers of staff with hearing loss, and we need to use British Sign Language interpreters. But the problem we have with Teams at the moment is as soon as we've got a presenter and PowerPoint, whether that's PowerPoint Live or they're showing their screen, that person can't make the BSL interpreter large enough for them to be useful, because by the time you've gone full screen and you've got letterbox, then it's just gone. And it's been, our hearing loss community are upset with Teams and still want to use Zoom, even though it's not approved for us. So will that pop-out feature help?
Yes, so you'll be able to take that presentation, and you can also pin an individual. So there's a way, that's one problem, not live demos, you can't show things, but you can pin an individual and make them, just for you, the main person on that screen. So you could choose that interpreter and pin that, so you can have the presentation one side, that main person there as well. I would also massively recommend, if you've got feedback like that, Donna Sarkar, who works in the accessibility team, she's DONASARKAR, she's massive in the community, used to do loads of Power Platform. She is loving the feedback and wants to help. That is why a lot of these things are changing. There is some really interesting stuff coming up around the accessibility around sign language as well. So I would definitely recommend dropping her a line. She's very, very approachable. I don't know if you come to the South Coast Summit. Yes, I got it right that time. But she will be there then, and would be very happy to have a chat with you as well. So I really recommend that.
That's really helpful.
So cool. Happy to have a bit of a chat afterwards as well. But, right, let's move on to the next one. So we're going to go gradually from left to right from here. Next one, there's participants. You might think, what can you say? It's the list of participants on there. But what's nice about this is if there's lots of them, it will kind of shrink, so you can kind of see the main presenters who've been allocated there. You can see the other attendees. You can extend it to get the other ones. If you are a controller, this is a great place to mute everyone. If there's a lot of background noise, really important functionality, which wasn't there from day one's relatively recent for some of that. And you can mute individuals, so when someone starts using their crisps and the noise cancelling isn't quite kicking in, you can kind of knock their noise out as well and control there. The other bit I love from this is, we'll come on to raising hand in a minute. From here you'll see not only who's raised their hands to ask a question, but now the order that they came up in. So there's no more fighting about trying to keep an eye on who is there. You'll see who came up first. Whether you choose to use that or whether you choose to go to your favourite friend there, that's entirely up to you, but at least you can see the option there, especially if there's people asking awkward questions. Then you can choose the different ones from that as well. And you can add, as I said there, you can add new people, so if someone you notice missing from the meeting, you can add them and it will dial them in as well. I generally chat them first, don't just call people, it's really irritating, but you can do that from there too. Next one's chat. Now, I'm probably the wrong person, because I love the meeting chat. I love that ability to have a side chat. When there's a kind of main presentation going on, someone's talking, you've got a question about it, you don't need to interrupt the flow. And I often, when we go and speak with clients, I will have one of my colleagues who will be there and be manning the chat effectively. So I can go in my flow, but as the questions come in, they can answer it there, and it's not kind of interrupting the main bit of it. And he'll know, this is a good time to interrupt, or this is not, I'll kind of answer this there. They can choose that balance, but it's a lovely place to have that chat. I was talking with some other people last night. Collab 365 used to run conferences, and they do pre-recorded conference, and all the speakers would be there in the chat, so answering questions through. And I was like, this is amazing, because you can engage straight away through that, and it worked really well. I do know, however, some people get really irritated by the amount of chat that goes in and side and distracting from there. So the most I would say from this is be clear within your meeting what your expectation is. When you start, say, please do ask questions in the chat. Please do have that side conversations there. Be very clear what you want as the etiquette at the start of the meeting, and then hopefully, not always people will follow it, but hopefully they're more likely to follow that information on there. But it's a really nice way to be able to have that, and you can go back to that during the meeting, or as I say, if you're lucky enough to have a colleague there who can keep an eye on that as well, it's a really good way of keeping that engagement going through. And I know if any of you joined some of the PMP calls, I know they're more developer-oriented. The speakers often, they have different sessions, and they'll go back and look through the chat and answer the questions later. So it's a lovely asynchronous way to kind of pick those things up from there. But as I say, just be very clear to people as you as organising the meeting what you want the behaviour to be with that. Next one, the reactions. I love the reactions because it's a nice way, I can see you, I can see your reactions, I can see people go, yeah, that's nice, or not, and things like that. When it's in a virtual meeting, even if you've got the cameras, you're not kind of noticing that quite so much. So that ability to put the reactions really gives the presenter that little bit of feedback, those little nudges of, right, that's the moment people are going for on there. And yes, they're all pretty positive. There's not a kind of downvote for any of these. It's kind of intended to be that nice boost on there. All the rude stuff goes into the comments, so that's where you get there. But those reactions can be really powerful ways of giving that as that come up, and they're just a little nudge that kind of gives you information from there. And the other one of those you can just about see on the right-hand side is that raise hands functionality. If anyone's sitting there thinking, oh, it really annoys me though that I have to do 2 clicks, you are not the only one, and the feedback is starting to be listened to. They're looking at ways to what else they could do around that as well. The other feedback I love to see is I love those likes, but I'd love for recording meetings to be able to get some analytics, so knowing the number of likes that have happened at what points they are as well. That would be something really good to come through. But do use those, and again, say to people during the meeting, if you like this, please do like it. Please do use those reactions. Encourage people to understand there as well. I think especially if you've got those larger town hall style meetings, you know which messages are starting to resonate with people based on those likes. It's like, right, okay, yeah, no one likes that. Ooh. Move on to the next one. This is all about breakout rooms. These always can be slightly controversial because a lot of people absolutely hate the breakout rooms. They are improving bit by bit on there. I've recently undergone the Viva Goals training, and the Ally.io team just nailed how to use breakout rooms. They had the nice sessions, they encourage people to speak in the chat, but then they break out into small groups to people to discuss certain things for like 5 minutes, and they built it into there. They had a little trouble technically using that. I think they just moved over from Zoom. Don't mention I said that. So they were still kind of getting familiar with it, but it worked really well because it kind of brought engagement. It put a natural break within the meeting, and you got to meet other people. These are people from all around the world that you want to hear from. It was a really nice way to bring that flow and to bring it a bit more to life, rather than just listening to people on there as well. Again, with etiquette, make sure you tell people ahead of time that's what your plan is. Don't just suddenly drop it on them, because suddenly everyone has to kind of make their face tidy up behind them or find the right background. Give people plenty of warning. Then they can work very well. Where I found them not work so well, and I think I can't remember if they have or are going to improve this, is there used to be only the meeting organizer that could jump between the rooms. So if you wanted to kind of jump in and listen and see how things are going, that I would definitely practice that, see what the latest is on that one. That's where they kind of are okay, but plan those, try it out. They can be very, very effective for longer meetings to break up some of those moments within there, and you can get a much better decision rather than trying to get 50 people trying to kind of one hand up at once. You get stuck on one thing. Move in smaller breakout rooms, get one of those people to kind of feedback. Works a lot better as well. We recently had an offsite and we did that. We had some people couldn't attend, so we kind of all naturally broke onto tables and had feedback there. And then we had 2 breakout rooms via Teams, and one person stood up into there. So it works with that hybrid meeting style as well. Keep an eye on time a bit. Next one, you've got the ellipsis, the 3 dots. It's funny, my son suddenly goes, oh, that's an ellipsis. I thought, how do you know what an ellipsis is? Well, it's obvious, like in Star Wars. I was like, yes. So if anyone doesn't know what ellipsis, say, just like in Star Wars, they'll know it straight away. But the 3 dots along there give you a whole host of other options there, so things like starting the recording, transcriptions, turning on the live captions, those background effects, which can be very useful if you haven't tidied up or if the kids are running around behind you. Although just be aware, one of my grey hat beard co-hosts, his wife was there, and suddenly in the middle of recording went, boo, and jumped out from nowhere. That really disturbed us slightly. So just be aware of what happens with those as well. And things like the chat bubbles, you can control a lot of the settings and device things. I'm not going to go through all of those in details, but there's a lot more of the control that you can bring through that bit as well. Next one, camera. Please turn your camera on. It gives that engagement for things. I know there's many reasons why you don't, you know, if you're on the train or things like that, or somewhere in public you might want to, but the more you can turn your camera on, the more engaged you feel with it, you feel connected to it, you kind of notice yourself looking bored and things like that. So it just gives there. And if you're not, it's probably not a good meeting, and you probably need to go back and think about that as well. So I wouldn't say everyone has to all the time, but the more you can, the better it is, definitely for that. It keeps you connected, it keeps the presenter connected with you as well. One thing I've done a few times is sometimes you turn it off for a bit because you're doing stuff and you want to kind of check, have you got back in the right place, have you knocked the camera? If you hover over that button, you can actually get a private preview. So I actually have a whiteboard up to my side, and sometimes if I move the camera, it's some of the text in there, which might be client information I don't want to share. I kind of use the private preview just to make sure it's in the right position before you turn your camera on properly. So that's a really useful way just to check what's in the background, make sure you've got the right books up there and all your embarrassing ones are hidden down on the floor and that kind of thing as well. And again, from there you can turn on the background effects and blur my backgrounds, and you can get into those extra images and things that you can upload as well. Next one, mute and unmute. Sarah very kindly at the Scottish Summit gave me a cut saying you're on mute. I've used it an awful lot. We all know we're going to do it. We're all going to forget to turn off mute, or we're going to join in a meeting and you're the, 6th one there and you're on mute automatically. It's going to happen. We're just going to have to deal with that as well. Nice that it pops up and reminds you, but there's a button there, and as we've got there, don't forget Control-Shift-M. Make it very, very easy to use those keyboard shortcuts as well. If you've got a Teams certified device, you've usually got a mute button on there which should connect very well. Make liberal use of those. One thing I think has improved is a lot of the background noise cancellation kind of reduced some of that problem about noise in the office on there, but it is still there. So do get used to muting and unmuting. I'm sure you all know that, and just forget about it as well. Next one, leave button. You come think, this is the easiest one, boom, leave, done. There's a bit more to it than that. If you're the meeting organizer, you will actually see there's the drop down there as well. You'll also notice that the share button and leave are very close together. Hands up, anyone who's managed to hit leave instead of sharing. Yep, exactly. And I'm renowned on Grey Hat Beard Princess for, instead of stopping recording, hitting leave and then coming back and everyone laughing at me again because I've done it again. So, take that little bit of time. They are going to be near there. Just be prepared for that. If it happens, it happens. Have a bit of a giggle, laugh at yourself a bit, carry on. Don't let it knock you from there. If you are the meeting organizer, then you have those extra options. So you can either leave, which means you leave and the meeting carries on, but you can actually end the meeting, which means you just cut everyone out from there as well. So make sure you're aware of the difference between those, and if you want to kick everyone out off, do. If you don't, don't hit end meeting, because it will knock everyone else and you'll get those rude Teams messages afterwards. So 2 different options there that not everyone notices from that. The most important button, so I touched on the share button there. This is where you share your content. I know some of us are amazing and can not use slides on there to do a great presentation, Bill at the back there, but using that share is going to be the key thing, and controlling how you do it as well. Thinking about what content you want to share when, going between the different presenter modes, doing things like remembering. How many people have kind of gone to share a video and realised they forgot to include the computer sounds? Always happens on there, and you have to unshare and go through the different bits like that. So there's just trying to remember those different things on there.
Turn it on now without having to unshare, because I did that the other day.
Fantastic. I couldn't...
I think they fixed it.
Yeah, I knew that was coming, but I couldn't remember which thing that was on, so thank you for mentioning that, so that is live. But yeah.
Tip at the top of the screen you're sharing.
Yeah, I don't think I'm licking too much, but you'll notice there's a lot more tool tips that are starting to be available, those nudges on doing the right thing. You'll see more and more of those coming. That's the kind of thing they've realised is just those little nudges to remind you on doing the right thing and how to do that, like being able to turn that on as well. So yeah, thank you. As I said, blame Zoe when these slides are out of date. So yeah, you've got that computer sound on there. You've got the options of sharing screen, sharing windows. You've got the different bits that you can go through, and we'll go and cover a little bit more of that in a minute on there. But you can choose where you're going to go from starting that. And so you've got different ways to present. You've got sharing your screen, a fantastic way if you're jumping between lots of windows. Maybe you're showing an app, then you're showing a browser, then you want to bring the slides up. You don't want to keep stopping, sharing and jumping between there. It's a great way of doing it. It is also a fantastic way of leaking information. Marty's not here, is he? One of the speakers suddenly panicked because his session's gone up on YouTube, and apparently as he was sharing, he shared some internal stuff that he didn't need to share on there. That is the big risk with sharing screens. So I'm very careful. I actually have two of my screens. I have one up there. I only ever put things up there that I'm sharing. Nothing sensitive goes up there. It is the one place. So if you're lucky enough to have two screens, make sure you kind of naturally keep one for things that you're happy to share and one that's going to be on there. But if you can avoid screen sharing, I would definitely look at that, just being more cautious from there. But it is a nice way if you're jumping between different things, because otherwise you have to stop sharing and picking different bits up as well. The other option is to share a single window, so whether it's a browser, whether it's an app on there, you can share that single one at a time. I'm sure those of you who have used it have gone, right, which window is it? It's one of these browsers. I've got 5 different ones open. I think it's, no, it's not that one. Quick, panic and change there. You know, it's certainly if you're doing a big meeting, plan ahead for that, close as much as possible, just have what you need available just to make it a little bit easier. But yes, that's a pain in the backside. Yes, that is being listened to, definitely. I think we're skipping the whiteboard one. You can collaborate on the whiteboard. Fantastic. I love that, being able to draw together. I've got the Surface Pro, so I love being able to use the pen and put things together, especially putting some of the Post-its up and catching that on there. But then the last one is PowerPoint Live. I love this. This is my preferred way of sharing presentations on there. 2 big reasons, which we're going to get to in a minute, so I won't go that now. But you can select your recent ones. I think I'm covering this in a minute, but you've also got that option now within Office to click on Present in Teams. So you don't necessarily have to the open ones here. If you are going to be sharing a set of slides, it just helps open it and close it just a few minutes before the meeting, just to bump it up to the top on there. If you don't, there's various ways around it. You can upload from there. It just takes a few minutes to bring up things on there. But PowerPoint Live is fantastic from there. Coming back to talking about screen share, as it says, often try and use a separate display, and then you can put your PowerPoint in slideshow mode. You can have your notes there. If you use PowerPoint Live, you've got your notes live there within that, and then you've got that red bar in the middle to control. We're assuming here at the moment that you're using the Teams client and not the web one. It is slightly different on the web client, although I saw today there's a new post, there's some updates for the web client that I think is, I can't remember exactly on the share, but they've brought a lot of stuff that used to just be on the client through to the web. So there's some nice new things that have just landed in there that are worth looking at. So if there's some things that you've avoided on the web, go and check that post. It's up on the Teams blog, I think, to bring that one through. So you've got different controls along the top there.
There's your sound buttons.
There we go. Thank you. So yeah, so you've got that top control on there about turning on the sound, so you can see whether it's putting through from that as well. Key thing, as you noted there's a red border around the window you're sharing, so if you start talking, someone starts asking about the email that you're sharing there, yep, that's the wrong window. So look out for that red one highlighting what you've got there. And you've got that control over the bar along the top, and you've got some various controls on there, which we'll cover in a sec, including the ability to sort of give control and changing how it looks. So when you are sharing, you've got a few different modes on there. If you see Zoe, if you're ever in a meeting with her, just say next slide, please. It really, really winds her up and is always entertaining from that. But you've got a few different ways. So you can see here Zoe on the screen. She's not in the presentation on there. She is live. She's changed to that dynamic standout mode. I'd like to call it weather presenter mode, because you sat there in the corner and you can kind of gesture to things like that and point to the different stuff. But it means you're more embedded within that slide itself. You do want to plan to your slides, because if you've put the core content exactly where your head's going to be, then you kind of end up doing this and ducking out the way and things like that. So think about how your slides line up and put, I got in trouble for saying this once, but put your company logo in the corner, because no one cares if they don't see that too much. Yeah, marketing didn't like that when I said it, but you think about what you're going to put, where you're going to be there within that. If you don't want to go over those slides and you don't want to leave the space there, you have the other option of the side-by-side, one where you see the slides and then you can see your face right there next to that, which is a nice way of doing that, and very similar to that, but kind of bigger rendition of yourself, the reporter mode on there that you've got the slides. Bear in mind, if we just go back to look at those, if you do that, the size of the slides shrinks. So if you've got a lot of text that you're looking to use on the slide, it's going to be harder to read. You can see the next slide, please. Probably for some of those at the back is a lot harder to read on there compared with the main one. So think about the size of your, it's always good to think about the size of your text on there. Big tip, if you're going to do an in-person one, change the resolution on your screen, bring it right down. It gives you an idea of what it looks like when you've shrunk it and put it onto things. So change a different resolution to see how it looks at different sizes when you present as well. So make use of those. I'm going to be honest, when this first came out, I used this quite a lot. I can't remember the last time I used it on there. But it's a nice bit of functionality that you can do. Now, I have to get in the right place. What I do like is, because what I don't like about this is you can't really control where you're going to be on the screen. You're there in that corner on there. And if you want to fill your content, it doesn't quite work. If you do want to fill your content, then you can use something called Cameo for PowerPoint. So within that, you can integrate your camera feed. You can see I'm looking down here on the laptop within your slides itself. And then you can choose exactly where you are and how big you can go from that. So it's an alternative to using that camera in Teams, but you can still engage and be part of that. So I know, I had that intro slide of myself at the beginning. I did consider using Cameo, but it would have given away the fun a little bit too early from there. As it says on there, it's only available to Office Insiders. And you may think, oh, this is another thing like bloody MVPs that I have to sign up for. It is available to Office Insiders. That is open to absolutely everyone. You can sign up there. I would put one caveat, because I've been trying it. There are some policies that your organisation may set that hides the Office Insiders. If you Google basically how do I get around the policies, something like that, there is a little one-liner that changes your regex if you have the ability on your laptop, so you can enable it. It will turn on a lot of other kind of first release style functionality, so be very cautious with what you do, but it will be on there. And it's been around about a year, I think, on the beta build, certainly a little while on there. As it says there, it is coming to PowerPoint Live soon, so it will be coming as a full release. I did try and have a look. I couldn't see on the roadmap, but I know it's definitely coming soon on there. Is it August that they were talking about?
Is it just Windows, or is it?
No. So
it actually works better on the Mac.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm usually...
This works better on the Mac.
No.
Now that I disagree on, because a number of times the only thing that's crashed my Mac ever is Office, but actually I might ask you more about that at the end. And you can embed this in different things. So as you see here, you want that big picture of you. I can also have that smaller one, so you can embed at different points. And there you can see it just appears on the insert menu. On the insert menu, it just appears on the right. It's called Cameo. I did have a word up joke in here and I've forgotten it around there, but yeah, you can bring that in, you can bring your transitions. It's just another image object, but it's a live dynamic one on there. One thing I would say, make sure you remember you've put it on there so you're not kind of looking at a really funny angle with your camera there when you're going through, because it's really not a good look. So remember where in your slides you have put that. Sorry, do you have a comment there?
Brilliantly with the morph transition, if you've got your camera and different transitions, it looks really flat. Put the morph transition on the slide, and your picture moves. So where Kevin moves that slide, that in the camera, with the morph, it kind of...
It's not set on this, is it? No.
It kind of, so rather than it being there, it just kind of transitions slowly into the new one, resizes it, and looks really flash.
I should have done that into a picture of Zoe. I didn't think about that. That would have been good. But anyway, so yeah, really nice way of doing it. And as I say, really good way of sort of having an engaging presentation from there as well. And you can see you can do different shapes. You can have a hexagon, etc. Maybe if you've got funny triangular heads, then you can do different ones on there, depending how it fits your slide and your brand as well that comes through. And yeah, I think that's about the transitions you were talking about there, the morph capability of how it changes as well. So a few things about doing PowerPoint versus Screenshare. The pros, you can turn on subtitles for everyone. So with PowerPoint, the subtitling is fantastic, really good. It's getting better and better in Teams, but I still think it's slightly better in PowerPoint as well. It works well if you've got one presenter. So one of the lovely things about PowerPoint Live is the ease you have of sharing that. It's not sharing your screen. You're just sharing, control of that to other people. So if you're flicking around, you've got a couple of different presenters. I cannot recommend enough to use PowerPoint Live if you can. If you've got the option, definitely go through that. You've also got those dynamic modes available within the sort of presenting on there. The cons of kind of doing it via screen share is that you need more than one screen. Just if you've got one screen, it's just horrific because you can't see your notes, you can't see the people behind there. You know, you could bring up your team, you're not going to see the chat. I know there are times when, you know, like this, if I was having a meeting, couldn't plug it in elsewhere, you do need to do it, but avoid as much as possible. It's also, as I mentioned earlier, it's easy to overshare and put the wrong notifications. I'll never forget, to actually join CPS, I worked with them on the other side of the fence. So I worked in financial services for many years and then got back to them there. One time, one of my colleagues was giving a presentation and an email popped up and going, "We're playing poker tonight?" And then another one going, "Yeah, what time are we meeting?" And then another popped up. So we all started emailing, "Can I play poker as well?" And just the whole meeting fell apart. So just making it just reduces that capability. And I know the focus mode comes in, but some things ignore the focus mode and all sort of things like that. So try and avoid that as well. And it also avoids the next slide, please, thing of if you're doing it and someone else runs it. It just doesn't work. Use PowerPoint Live on there. It also, yeah, we've got the stand-up mode on there, may cover slide content. One of the key things, and this isn't often known, if you're sharing your screen, that is a lot more bandwidth than the PowerPoint Live. So if you're in somewhere where you've got shaky signal, maybe you're using your phone to do one, PowerPoint Live is a lot better way to get that for you. So it's a lot narrower bandwidth. So if you're getting a slightly shaky signal, maybe the kids are back from school or watching Netflix at the same time, PowerPoint Live will work a lot better for you as well. It's those slides. Just don't do next slide, please. Try and find a way, agree ahead of time what your transition to the next slide, whether it's a little pause, whether you're going to kind of have a nod or something like that. It just doesn't need you to say next slide. I just don't know how someone who can be in front of so many people can be saying that so much. But so yeah, don't. Next one is, yeah, we're going to go a little bit more into PowerPoint Live. We're going to go a little bit quicker in this. So you've got two options. You've got that presenting the share tray that we talked about. It's got your recent ones. If you've forgotten to open it or you've opened a few other ones, it can slide off the list, which is a bit frustrating. At the moment, there's no way to browse that. You can browse, I don't know if you can see down the bottom, you can browse OneDrive on there, but there is a little bit of delay while it finds that. You can browse My Computer, but if you have a large presentation, it will upload it, store it somewhere, and then share it. So it can take quite a bit of time for that. So just be aware from those ones. The one I use almost constantly now is that button Present in Teams. Although I've noticed in Mac recently, it's been a little bit hit and miss. I haven't worked out what's going on, whether it's something in my machine, but sometimes it just won't do anything on there. So just have that backup plan. But generally, up until about 2 weeks ago, that was working very, very nicely as well. And it gives you that kind of pause that you're about to present, so it gets you ready for it before it shows that as well. So try and use the PowerPoint Live. Yes, sorry.
So with PowerPoint Live, I guess this is the case, it's my experience, but nobody's told me that this is true. If you have a big presentation, if you load it up, if you make a Teams meeting and you load it up another time, when you get to doing it live, it doesn't seem to take as long. Is that true? I've not just...
It's already in your OneDrive.
Oh, okay.
It should be the case.
We do kind of preload.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be, I think it...
Is that because it's a present? So that might be
So
a
if you
networked
do-
presentation, but then it's gone up to the cloud.
Yeah,
and then
if you
it
do
plays
the
that
browse
next
via
time.
OneDrive, it's a lot quicker. I don't know if you try and upload it again, whether it kind of recognises it. I think it does. I'll be honest, I wouldn't trust it.
That's my experience,
yeah.
but I don't know why, and no one's ever told me. So I think that makes sense. Thank you.
I think the only other thing I'll say with that, and I think that there's a slide in a sec, is just be careful if there's been a change. Sometimes it won't have taken up the latest change from that as well. Sorry, go on, Sarah.
If it's in the same meeting, it's also cached it within the meeting as well. So if you're resharing it within the same meeting, it's cached it. I would recommend always uploading it to OneDrive or SharePoint before you start, because it will be much smoother for other people viewing it as well, because it's not going via your networking, it's purely cloud to cloud. Make sure you have the file stored in the same tenant as you are presenting in. Ideally, otherwise you get issues.
Yeah, been there and done that. Where's that file
What's
gone?
happening with your Mac?
No, that was my first thought, but no, it wasn't that. So, what time we got? Right, I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker. So yeah, just some of the features we've got within there. You've got that chat visible. So this is a single screen. People are looking at, and again with the pop-out, you'll be able to have the full screen. You've got that, you as a presenter can see that. Yes, it's a little bit small, and that's one thing to be aware of. Sometimes it can be a small screen. You can, coming soon, be able to pop that out, which makes a difference. You can see that chat down the side, so you can keep an eye on the conversation. You can hide it as well, so if you get distracted easily, you can click on the chat up there and sort of hide that window, but you can get access to that all from the same place. You can see the meeting notes for each slide that's going on there, so you can check your notes and remind yourself what's going on. You can view the participants and who's raised a hand, and even bring up, instead of the chat, the participant window and see the order of those as well. And you've got, now this one always catches me out. You've got the option here, you've got the standard arrow, and like if I have my mouse pointer here, no one else sees that. If you want people to see where you're pointing, don't forget to use the laser pointer, and then you get a little red dot that you can move around that kind of stays there for a second or so before disappearing. So do remember to turn that on and turn that off as you're doing different things. You can even go scribbling on the screen and things like that as well if you want to bring additional highlighting of things as you're going along. So lots of different controls. And you can see the upcoming slides down the right-hand side there. I have a feeling this is coming up, but one of the things I love most as a consumer of PowerPoint Live, any links you put in there, you can click on. So if you're at home watching some of these presentations, you're doing PowerPoint Live, I know Lee was up there, everyone's kind of taking photos, and then you have to type out the link, you can just click on it. It makes such a difference. Do be aware, the second you put those links, someone's click on that link and kind of, sorry, what did you say? And things like that. So plan it, and that's why often you'll see people put those links at the end, not halfway through, because people get distracted. So, and again, tell people, I'll put that at the end for you and make that available and have that single screen on there. So planning your different ways to do that as well. In terms of presenter modes, you've got those same options within there, that ability to kind of put your face on there, as we talked about for having the side-by-side. You've also got the I button. So this, I'm always mixed about this. Can we see on this screen? Yeah, you've got this option down there. By default, people can click ahead and look at the different slides. You can turn that off, so you can choose whether you want to allow people to skip ahead or not on there. It's kind of up to you. Now, Sarah, I think even if you turn that off, you can skip backwards, but not forwards, isn't it, within there? I seem to remember that's the option on there. So if someone's forgotten something, they can go back and just check what they said on there. It stops that. Oh, can you flip back a couple of slides a bit? Okay. I was trying to remember because it seemed to do it sometimes and not others. That might be why on there.
It's a feature.
Yeah. I think it'd be a nice one to be able to go backwards, but you don't, you want to be able to reveal things on there. So just be aware of that. Decide what you want to do. Decide if you tell people about it. To be honest, if you don't mention it, most people don't notice and won't jump ahead. So it wouldn't be one of the things I'd say for etiquette, but decide yourself what you do want to do with that. You can also have multiple presenters, as I mentioned there. So if you've set those people as presenters, they can jump between taking control. It's just a lot more seamless on there as well. Just a warning, if you do present with Luke Evans there, he's very, very loud. So be careful with that one from it. So yeah, super easy to get there. You can hit the highlighted button to take control and it just jumps between to there. And then suddenly they see the notes that come up from that too. Other ones you got is the translation. So with PowerPoint Live, you can live translate those. So you can put it into French or the different languages you want. So really useful capability to kind of use the same slides when there. Obviously, bear in mind some translations work better than others. Just be aware of that from it. And you can select that and choose the different language that will translate through. And you can also have those subtitles, so you can either turn on or turn off that. I always get slightly distracted by them, so deciding what you want. But they can be very useful. Again, you were talking about the accessibility within that. You've got those subtitles to come through, which can help things as well.
So just to be clear, in PowerPoint Live, you have to use the Teams meeting. Can't use the PowerPoint subtitles.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Also like the fluent video in PowerPoint Live. Instead of PowerPoint, when you use PowerPoint Live, in my opinion, the video is far more fluent and people can stop
Yes, yeah. And again, it's that size of things because you're not streaming a whole video that's moving across your network. It's working a lot better there. Yeah, videos work a lot better. And even sounds works a lot better. You don't have to worry about toggling that sound thing. It tends to come across a lot easier from there. Yeah, absolutely agree on that one. So a little nice photo slide on there. The pros, it's really easy. You've got that laser pointer to make things. You've got that raised hand and general meeting content available to everyone. You've now got that standout mode, so you can kind of stand in front of it. You can translate it. Downside, this is a really important one, slides are cached. So if you suddenly notice something, you can't just make a quick change of that. If you've made that locally, save it, it will not change up there. So don't go and try and live change any of your slides. Just be aware of that. And these subtitles aren't automatically on for everyone. It's up to the attendees to choose when they want to, which I think is a nice thing, but you've got that option on there.
Can I ask you a question? Is Microsoft not going to change that? Because it's very good when you look at your PowerPoint Live and you see that you made a mistake in the slide, that you can change it, and there's kind of an update button during your presentation. But,
I don't know.
no.
Feedback portal, do you put that in there?
Portal, yeah.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know. I'm not hiding anything there, but I think the reality is to get the performance, it's cached. Yeah, don't know. Part don't know, part can't say, but
Complain about the same thing.
yeah.
I suspect, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. As I say, within these grumbles, I cannot say enough to go into that feedback portal and put your comments in there, go and support other people. The engineering team are so guided by that. Or if you work for a big company, that helps as well. Get your contacts there. Those two things really make a difference. Just because it may be the best idea ever doesn't mean it's going to happen. You need that backing to be able to support it as well. Yeah, let's talk about standout mode, may cover slide, which is the same for the other one.
There is an update, I think, on the roadmap that says you should be able to move that standout video feed around live. So if it does cover it, you can just move it.
And resize.
And resize. Ah, that's on the roadmap now. Okay, yes, it's very nice. It's well said to that. And again, have a look at the Office Insider if you can get on that. You know, even if you're putting it on your personal account, just seeing what's coming on there is really interesting and gives you some great insights of what's coming up. So a few tips. I mean, it sounds a stupid one. Plan ahead of time. Think about how you're going to present it, where you're going to be, you know, things like having someone there to help you, where the other people are going to be. Think about all those different elements and try and do that as regularly as possible. I know we're all back-to-back meetings, but try and think about your different ones, even if it's the start of the day. Think about your content. Spend that time to look and kind of hide it on there. I kind of toyed with this one. I was going to take some of the Zoe slides. I've taken a lot of the text off. I don't like to have too much text on there because you're all reading that and not listening to me. Have just those words on there, not the extra thing. Have those in the notes. Share that afterwards, because if you put it in the notes, they're all there and available to others. But think about that content. Have it very focused on there. The PowerPoint Presenter Coach is a fantastic way, and I know there's the Teams meeting one that's got a lot of the capabilities, thinking about whether you're going too slow and too fast on there to practice your timings as well. And do practice it. I do for all my talks, go through that whole thing. Don't go through, yeah, I've clicked through, that's the same. Talk through it. It is different from within there. Make sure you use the accessibility checker. Make sure you've thought about that. It is not just for disability. You've got different screens. You think about the different color shades. It makes it easier to see for there. You should be doing it to make it available for everyone, full stop, let's be honest. But if you need that extra kick, then making sure it works on different screens. If you've got some crappy projector in a room with the sunlight pouring in, the accessibility checker makes it far more likely it's going to be easy to. Think about your tech setup. Think about where your camera is. Think about your lighting. I absolutely hate it when someone has their camera looking here with the bright sunshine behind them. All you get is like a black blur there that comes through. Don't do that. I know sometimes you can't, but pull a blind down. Get an extra light. The ring lights really aren't that expensive now on there. Get that in front of you and just get you lit up. Otherwise, you just look like an amateur. You want to get this stuff across. It doesn't think of there. Think about your positioning as well. I was going to say for gents, but no, ladies and gents. You've got your chin, you've got your ball patch. You want just in between, just at the right level to think about. You'll wear a hat. That's great. My co-host is a hat, and I've just realised that's why he wears a hat. But yeah, think about that. I know even stupid things like the glare, if you are unlucky like me to have a slightly shiny forehead and slightly bigger one than it used to be. Think about that glare that's coming through from there, because it will make a difference to how you're perceived on that as well.
Not up your nose.
Not up your nose as well, yeah. I was talking to some of the guys with the devices. I managed to get one of those Lenovo devices that sits on your desk and you can basically have Teams in a separate one. It's fantastic. And I looked at it and just the camera angle was just there. It was absolutely awful. And I was just like, I like the idea of this, but the angle just doesn't work. Yeah.
I saw in a post last week, there's also now a soft focus option.
Yes.
In the camera settings before you join.
I have to say, it is absolutely fantastic. It's quite disturbing how good it is. I don't use it because I like to be me. I'm old, I'm bald, I'm fat, I'm wrinkled. That's me. But if you want to come across and use that, it does look really nice on there. I have to say it's quite impressive. One of my colleagues, I was like, have you got new makeup? And she laughed and said, yeah, let me turn off the soft focus. On there. But it really does, no, it's a really nice setting on that one that just works.
Snap camera.
Yeah.
Snap camera is another good one. Sharon used that for a good year before anyone realized that wasn't actually makeup. She had a makeup filter on.
But then you click the button and don't notice, and suddenly you're a talking potato for a whole meeting. Well, there was a talking cat, wasn't there? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, be careful.
I don't know how to get rid of the cat.
I'm going to finish with the last one for you. Give a little bit of time for questions and some swag. Enjoy it. I stand up. I enjoy presentations. If you're not enjoying your presentation, find a way that you can enjoy it, whether that's geeking out in a bit of content, whether that's having fun memes and stuff like that. Find a way that works for you to be enjoyable, because it comes across. If you're going through a slide deck that's another company update with the quarterly numbers, and we're down in this and we're up in this, then everyone else is going to feel that way. Find a way to bring it to life. Look at what other people do and be inspired by them. Yeah, just nick their slides, it's fine. Most of these slides. These are up on Just Attend. I think Zoe's done a lovely job with making these look great on there. Thank you, Zoe. Go and nick other people's ideas. This is why people share stuff, to be inspired by there. But find something that works for you. Find what's right and enjoy standing there. My wife hates the fact, she might watch this one day, she hates the fact that I wave my hands around. But it's what brings attention for me. It makes me feel more comfortable. I'm sorry for those that don't like it, but it is what works for me and helps keep me with that rhythm. So find out what's fun, practice, and you'll feel very comfortable with it. Otherwise, that is the end of Commsverse, unless there are any more questions at all. Got one last throw.
Two very quick questions. You meant the two PowerPoint Live versus screen sharing and the pros and cons. Brilliant. Love both of those. Just use case for them in the office is great. Mention about the caching and screen sharing using more data. Is that documented anywhere? It is. PowerPoint, I've not looked. It's something I've been trying to convince people. I'm going to say a bad word. We have people doing presentations in Teams using Google Slides, and it's just like, what are you doing? And then 10 minutes before the meeting, they go, oh, now convert it to PowerPoint Live, and I use PowerPoint Live. I'm like, what are you? It's a step in the right direction, but okay, I just want to make sure that it is in there, because I can shout to them and say, start from PowerPoint and begin it.
Somewhere, I can't remember.
What I do is Sarah and I will find it together, and one or both of us will tweet it and retweet it and get it out.
It's one of those things I'm pushing, and Cameo is one of those things for the boring sales figures. It's just like, they're going to jump on PowerPoint now. Yeah. And they've got a good reason to. I mean, there's already good reasons. The other one, PowerPoint Live to Cameo, Presenter Live, all those use long shot. Do you know if it works via CVI? No. I thought that might be the answer, but cool, that's fine. No, rip that out. Thank you.
I love it. You just started the question, does it work with CVI? It doesn't matter what the rest of it is. No, probably not.
No, I thought that would be the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. With the Cameo, I specifically do a lot of recording. I use the recording studio on PowerPoint to make videos. So if you're recording video, obviously you get the cut-out square at the bottom. So with Cameo, if you was using Cameo, would that override that, or would you need to delete the extra video off, or does Cameo kick in and take over?
If you put the Cameo on, it records the Cameo.
Okay. Cool.
Not the bit in the bottom.
Nice. Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, no, it's a nice feature, that.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I'm sure Zoe would still be talking, even though the session ended 12 minutes ago. It's all good. All right, let's thank you, Kevin, Zoe, Kevin. Let's get the Swagit out. Swagit.io.